If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to rate and review it. Your feedback will greatly impact our ability to reach more people. Thank you. All right, Vic, how's it going?
Doing well. Glad you're back. You came back to snowy Nashville. So.
Yeah, but it's a pretty snow.
Yes.
It's not like rainy, nasty. The sun is out. It's not too gray out. It's nice.
Yeah. So how was we tried to keep it going here, but I want to hear about Saudi Arabia. How was the trip?
It's mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. I think that Saudi Arabia is probably top 3 places where the American narrative versus reality gap is like just ridiculously wide. And credit to us on that. I would say the narrative we have is not necessarily wrong. It's just old. And the kingdom of Saudi Arabia is advancing so quickly because they have this thing called Saudi Vision 2030 that the king and His Royal Highness put together.
I've seen the building of entire cities and things. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah. They've got these massive giga projects, right, that they're doing. Okay, and the thing that you realize pretty quickly is the fundamental difference between a society that does not run by democracy versus one that does, right? So we have this democratic society, and we're thrashing around. We're thrashing around like constantly about partisan stuff, and it just kind of spins up. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like anything is wrong with democracy. I'm just saying, like, it's trade-offs, right? You know what I mean? So in a democracy, this is what you have a lot of this thrashing around. Yeah. Right. So in a kingdom, the key is really like, do you have a benevolent leader or not?
Benevolent king or not?
Yeah. It is completely boils down to, like, is the king benevolent or not, right? And look, I think the Saudi people would say they have benevolent kingdom right now, and so they have this 15-year strategic plan called Saudi Vision 2030. They're 10 years into the 15-year plan. We can't have a 15-year strategic plan in America.
We barely have a 2-year plan.
Yeah. So they have this 15-year plan, and they're 10 years in, and it has all of these really thoughtful, societal and economic, and foreign policy aspects to it, about healthcare access, building, these giga projects, just super modern cities. As it pertains to us, they are completely revolutionizing their healthcare system. And it's so many of the ministers and the people who work for the ministers, across their government, were educated in the United States. So the direction they're going with their healthcare system is, I think, one that not all, because we know that there's not one camp in America around where we should go with healthcare, but it's one that I think a lot of people in America who are in the healthcare industry believe we should be going towards. That they are basically moving to 100% privatized ACO model. So we're already privatized when it comes to delivering care. They have their own version of the VA there, right? So they have healthcare for the the veterans and people in the military. But outside of that, the whole population is cared for by sort of the Ministry of Health. And right now, it's just like they pay for it. They're not, they don't do cost accounting. They're not tracking it. It's not a fee for service thing. It's just a whatever it costs, we'll pay. So it's kind of like cost plus, maybe, but it's all, but the providers are the government as well, right? Like today, they have private hospitals. Like they just had their first like HCA just launched on their stock market. But for the most part, it's
more like UK or London or something,
Yeah. But I would say not as advanced as like NHS.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not as advanced as NHS. But where they're going is going to be more advanced, right? Because they're leapfrogging all the models that in the Western world, especially like UK, United States, that we've like tried and now we're kind of trying to back out of a little bit. They're just going to this 100% cluster ACO model. They have a lot of work to do to figure out revenue cycle and cost accounting and all that kind of stuff. But it's all going to get privatized over the course of the next 10 years, and they've got it, pretty well phased out. And it's super ambitious, but when you look at all the other things that they're accomplishing, the building of their financial district, their whole health tech city that they're working on, it's like you you get that they are much further along in the process of getting away from oil dependence than we might think they are, right? Like I feel like the story in America has largely been around sports washing, because this is what we interact with, right?
Right.
Live golf
Yeah.
and Ronaldo, you know what I mean, and just like
All
and
the fights are there
boxing,
now. Right. Right.
right,
Right.
right, and boxing, right, yeah. So like that's what we get to see and feel from Saudi, is like the sports part of it. But for the citizens, it's it's a full societal upgrade is what they're going through.
It sounds like maybe a lot of the people that work in the Ministry of Health were educated in the US and they're able to take kind of best practices globally. And
Yeah,
then they have a king who can say, well, let's build it this way and just start. Now,
yeah,
there's a lot to build, but that's kind of freeing, just to let's go build how we want it to be.
yeah, yeah. And the crown prince is apparently, I don't know him, but the crown prince is apparently very ambitious. When you look at the plan, it's clearly very ambitious, but also like we are going to hit these things. And so a couple of other things I'll just point out. The advancing of women in that society, I think it's happening so quickly that it wouldn't make sense that any American narrative could keep up with it. You know what I mean? Like I when I talk to people here, especially coming back, mostly they talk about women being able to drive and some women being able to do some jobs, but like it's the shift is far more impactful than that.
So when you walk around, you went to a conference, I think. When you walk around, there are women there, just like men, just like in a US conference.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, their society is much more like there's no question. It's a nation under Islamic law. And so uh you know every they're just not everything is formal. It's a much more formal place. I wore suits basically every day that I was there to do business. That you don't generally like reach out to shake a woman's hand unless she extends her hand first. So there's a formality to it and a modesty to it, that is just it's just baked into the culture there. It's their fundamental culture, and they're not like losing that part of it. But many women without headdress. Now men and women are working on the same floors in buildings. I think even like 2 years ago that wasn't the case. They were working on separate floors in buildings. So there's just all these things that are advancing very, very quickly. Women are entrepreneurs. Like I think that's one of the big things that's happening there. Many women are CEOs of companies and entrepreneurs, and so yeah, it was really, really impressive and inspiring in a lot of ways. The delegation was timed around a large event that they have there called Leap, and I had never heard of Leap.
Yeah,
Had
yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know about it, right? Yeah. So Leap, well, first of all, it's thrown by Informa, which is that big event company that like they just bought Hims, for example. So they throw big events all over the world. So that gives you a sense of like, okay, how big are they going with this thing? Right. It's pretty significant. And the event had hundreds of thousands of people there.
Hundreds of thousands?
Yes.
That's bigger than any event. Maybe CES is that, but there's no events that big in the US, I don't think.
It was like CES, Vic.
Yeah.
And by the way, not just in people, like the quality of the booths that were there, CES level for
Yeah.
sure. And then the final thing I'll say is this was probably the starkest thing for me. You know how there's kind of like this refrain around in America when you're talking about investing, and people will be like, would you take Saudi money? Like you've heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. It's just always like a question that
yeah,
people
yeah,
will say, right? Um, American corporations have been in Saudi Arabia for a long time.
yeah.
Very well established, very integrated. Large consulting groups are deeply embedded, collaborating with the government on the Saudi Vision 2030. There was a Raising Cane's there.
That's interesting. I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe it's good for healthcare. They're going to need
Well,
healthcare.
but you get the point, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So anyway, I just thought that it was
yeah. And the UAE, it is already a global center, certainly going to be a global center for commerce, for everything.
yeah, yeah. There's no question about it. They have an ambition to double their population, and I think they're going to have two very big sort of coming out parties. They have the World Expo in 2030, and then they have the World Cup in 2034. So, um, you know, uh, the world will be going to Saudi Arabia to sort of see all of their progress here pretty soon.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you went and I'm glad you're back. So
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, the travel in and out. There's a direct flight from DC. Uh,
it's
Pretty
like going,
easy.
kind of like going to Europe, really. I mean,
Yeah,
it's, yeah.
yeah, it was no problem. It was no problem. So anyway, I'm glad to be back as well. It was a very intense 2 weeks. I had a trip on the front end of that and a trip on the back end of that. Um, you know, Came back, finally got sick, but at least I was home when I got sick, so that's why we're not in the studio right now. But yeah, look, it was fascinating. I made some great friends, and I'll be going back.
Yeah. Good.
I'm
I gotta
excited to go
go
back.
check it out too. I think
Yeah,
until you see it for yourself, it's hard to like you relate it to me, but it's different if you're walking through the city, like just experiencing it.
it's definitely something that I would encourage you to do, and I certainly would encourage other people to go see Saudi Arabia. Okay. Anything else? Or you ready to go?
No, I'm ready to go.
All right, let's dig in. All right, first let's start with the Fed. Fed minutes were released after the latest meeting, and what do they say?
It basically said they're taking a wait and see approach. So they were pretty aligned in the meeting, in the minutes of the meeting, that they want to just see how the data comes in, and they're not in a rush to cut rates or raise rates, really. So the market really reacted positively to those minutes. Not that surprising, but it's good to keep following the Fed because they move things around.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not surprising. And also they've put in minutes here something that is not necessarily aligned with what President Trump is hoping that they will do. So that's one of many storylines we'll need to continue to track.
Yeah.
Moving on next to the VC section, AI healthcare startup OpenEvidence raises funding from Sequoia at $1 billion valuation. So is this a new thing? Like we're now going to call all the AI companies open something, even though they're not actually open source companies?
Yes, so I don't think it's helpful, but yes, they're open, whatever. Um, the thing that I was shocked about is they claim, well, first of all, it's a unicorn, immediately, right away at $1 billion. And then they claim that a quarter of doctors in the US are using the tool, which I do not believe, but it's in the story. And there was a lot of press around this. So
You know how I feel about hyperbole and failure to be precise.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it is it's an LOM designed for healthcare, and I think because of that, it is likely better suited to help in healthcare settings. But I think that it seems overvalued and a lot of hyperbole with it. But
And it's good.
Sequoia used to be an incredible brand. They're still a good brand. I think they've lost a little of the shine, but good brand.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like decision support for physicians, valuing that at $1 billion just feels it just rhymes with olive. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
rhymes with olive.
yeah. That did not end well.
No. Uh, Axios Pro, Frontera Health gets 32 million for autism therapy tools. This is also AI, and this is addressing the backlog of ABA providers that are available for families who need therapy for their children. Basically, while they're on those wait lists, they can supplement the 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 absence of of therapist availability with an AI powered assistance for
Yeah, so I think the opposite about this. I mean, I think an in-person uh, helper, PT, or support for your child is better, is the standard of care. But if you're on a wait list and you can't get help, it seems like a good solution to have an adjunct, additional tool to help.
yeah, I think so. You know, we've got a PA company in the portfolio, and this is definitely a space where there is so much room for improvement. All the way around. We have a very hard time figuring out how to move the needle on outcomes in this space. And so right now it's largely a consumption model, because we have a growing number of the population that are being diagnosed with autism. Um, they have special needs. They do need support. The healthcare industry is sort of bound to provide for them, but there's no therapeutic pathway to quote unquote improve, right?
Yeah,
In a meaningful way that would show up via diagnostics, that would lower the cost of care. So it's basically like, how much availability do you have, and we fill all that availability, and then we pay, but then we pay pretty low rates because we can't control the costs, so that impacts the quality of the therapy.
not enough providers, and you sort of cycle around.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. It's just this loop. So we definitely need to figure out how to improve autism care. No question.
Yeah. Yeah. And adding, I mean, if a patient's on a wait list, there's no question that an AI tool is better than nothing. And so I think that's a great way to sort of enter the market, as opposed to some kind of replacement or other alternative.
Yep, agree. Axios Pro again. Posterity collects $13 million Series A for male fertility.
Yeah. So male fertility is less covered, but I think it's about half the cases where you can't have a baby. So it's as important as female infertility. And we know several of the investors in this company, FCA here in town, and Steelside that we know. So it seems like a good company. I don't know much about it, but I like the space.
Yeah, and I like the investors. So happy for FCA and Maria at Steel Sky. Okay, Mobi Health News. Millie secures $20 million to expand its maternity care platform.
Yeah, so this is after you get pregnant, and so the maternity care, and then after the baby comes too. So it's a good space, and I think a Series A. I like to see Series A new companies getting going.
Axios Pro. Ex-Redesign Health Director debuts Terrarium Incubator. So this is Company Ventures. Our friend Hunter is one of the partners over there, and they have backed with 130 million a new healthcare incubator called Terrarium. The CEO is Mark Rosenblum, and he was from Redesign Health.
Yeah, and they are partnering with Wellstar, and then a design firm called Cactus that I don't know, but that whole concept of sort of the studio aligning with a health system and a design shop, I think makes a lot of sense. And so good to see the former redesign director landing in a new place, Terrarium.
Yep. Okay, so Elad blog. So Elad Gil, sort of a thought leader in the industry, writes on a variety of different things. But he wrote a post on February 5th called "Leaving Delaware," and this is, when I say industry, I mean tech industry, not healthcare industry. This is a guide that many people, including Pathology, are referencing on this is the go-to for how you set up your company without setting it up in Delaware, because there are people who believe, based on some of the court cases that have happened over the course of the last 2-3 years in Delaware, that Delaware is no longer the best place to incorporate your company. This is a pretty big shift. I mean, I don't think I want to talk about what's inside of the Post as much as I want to talk about this real shift that's happening. We have talked about the shift from an economic perspective to the Southeast United States, Texas, Florida, and Tennessee in particular. 3 states that have grown in prominence and power economically across the United States
Yeah.
significantly over the course of the last 5 years.
Nevada has really been aggressive at, they don't have, no income tax, but they've been really aggressive at this corporate identity.
Exactly. And so now Texas and Nevada are emerging as new legitimate alternatives for establishing your C corp. And the reason why that is such a big deal is, talk about things that, for someone like me who came into this industry, you were like teaching me the industry, and setting up a Delaware C corp was like a law of physics. You know what I mean?
That's just one of the things you did, right? You set up your C corp in Delaware, and then you started building. There was no alternative. I mean, it wasn't. Right. And I think it is. It's just, to me, it's a sign of the fractioning of really our population to different states based on tax policy, legal policy, political persuasions, cultural things. There's definitely a fracturing. Maybe that will be healthy if we can experiment with things and come back together. It also could be really damaging and not good. I'm hopeful, but nervous about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to make our industry, that I believe is already challenged, a little more challenging, just a little more challenging. Because I think the reality is we're going to see different VCs start to say, I'm doing all my stuff in Texas, or I'm doing all my stuff in Nevada. And now you're going to have 3 different places. And I think it's going to largely split along like political ideologies.
Yes.
And we know that a ton of VCs right now are on the red train.
Yeah, I mean, Valley, Peter Thiel, and others, sort of, maybe they saw the momentum and jumped on for financial reasons. Maybe they always believed in these ideals. I don't think it really matters. So a lot of the venture capital industry and the tech industry has sort of signed up on the, I don't know if it's red or just Trump, but that's kind of the same thing now.
Yeah, I think it's red.
Yeah.
I think it's bigger than Trump. I think it's I think it's the GOP. So look, this will be for us in our industry. If you're outside of our industry, you're just like a healthcare person listening to this, you might not care about this, but for the VC industry, it's not a small deal.
And for founders and management teams building, that you have to decide now. It's just another thing to consider. There's more optionality, but there's also a lot more complexity.
That's right. All right. And then the final thing in the VC list here, Wall Street Journal, the new survival guide for private equity: go big or get back to basics. So what's kind of the narrative here?
Basically, the private equity industry is sort of bifurcating to, huge private equity firms. It used to be that 5 billion was a big private equity firm. It's not now. I mean, they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Or you really have to go back to finding deals and kind of manufacturing things really small. There's not that middle of the road. So, I mean, they call out CD&R, who, we're friends with several of them there, with their $16 billion fund. And that's just part of the game now. You have to be raising that, significant size in order to play.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they called out CD&R as actually being more of the pure play that is just excelling with a not so large fund, which is crazy to say. 26.
Maybe that's small.
Yeah, it's crazy to say 26 billion or 16 billion is small, right? But relative to, 3 trillion dollars that some of these firms are sitting on. And look, I feel like the same thing is happening in VC, right? I mean, we've got the General Catalyst of the world, we've got the Andreessen Horowitz. I mean, Jumpstart will never raise the kind of capital that those funds raise. And I just got finished writing my LP update because I've been sick and family stuff happening. But I just got done writing it, and the narrative is like, hey, listen, if you're a seed stage fund, you better be a builder. You
Yeah,
like you
on helping and adding value.
you better be a builder. Like you better be in there rolling up your sleeves, helping these companies actually become real companies. Like, don't think you're going to be peddling a narrative, doing momentum crap, you
Yeah,
know, while they burn cash and somebody's going to save you. Do you know like 2 years in a row graduation rates from the norm? Like, I'm not talking from 2020, from the norm. It's cut in half.
yeah. Well, so let's talk about graduation rates because I'm not sure everyone understands that. Graduation from seed, you raise a seed round, do you graduate to the next round called
Series
A?
A.
That's what you mean. It's cut in half. So
Yeah.
half as many companies are living, and that means
One in five.
yeah, right.
1 in 5.
Yeah. And so I think a seed general partner or seed fund has to be able to contribute. You have to help build customers, new revenue sources, help them raise money, help them with their strategy. You need to be sort of hands on.
I honestly like if you have a 1 in 5 chance of helping them get to a Series A, you're way better off spending your and also like 1 in 5 is not evenly distributed, right? If you're not in California,
It's lower than that, far lower than that. Yeah.
it's like 1 in 20, right? So now what you're actually charged with doing is not just driving top line revenue, but creating a capital efficient business that is very close to, if not cash flow positive.
Yeah, you have to get to default alive, meaning you have more money next month than you had this month,
That's
and you
right.
thrive.
That's it. You're not in a position to just burn cash nonstop, and that's what I feel like they're likening CD&R to here. They're saying they're very, very good at pure play buyout. Get in there, get this company operating efficiently well. They're growing top line, but they're also improving bottom line,
Yeah,
right? And that's what we got to do
yeah,
too.
yeah. Those days of I'll hang around and follow some other VC and just get a momentum train is gone.
Over, over for most of us anyway. Okay, moving into policy. The Associated Press. HHS is losing thousands of workers under Trump administration probationary job cuts. So I think the last time I looked at the counter, and this was 2 days ago, but I thought we were up to around 300,000.
In total
Was it 300,000 or was it 30,000?
at HHS.
Jobs lost.
Yeah, I don't know across the federal government. This story talks about 1,300 at CDC
Mm,
and 5,200 across all of HHS.
mm.
For perspective, this came out of the article. HHS has about 80,000 employees total, and Doge and the Trump administration have been attacking this probationary status. I think because that's the easiest place to do effectively a layoff or whatever they're calling it. Um, and once they are not in probation, I think you're in probation for a year after you start or a year after your title changes. Whether that makes sense or not, I don't know, but that's how it's set up. And so those are the people that are being terminated or being laid off, whatever the term is.
Yeah, I mean, this was 1,300 probationary employees at the CDC, which is roughly 1/10 of the agency's workforce. I mean, it just
I mean,
I don't.
I think you and I understand what Elon is doing because he did it at Twitter, now X.
Sure. I mean, I get it in a private market. This
Yeah. Well, I don't know that it's appropriate for the government to do that process, but that's the game plan he is using. And I've done it before, where you come into a private company that is in trouble and burning money and that has very limited prospects, and you have to cut enough employees to really make a difference. You always end up cutting slightly too much because it's easier to hire back the one or two roles that you cut too much in. Um, that's pretty common in private companies that are in trouble and trying to cut back their costs. We've never seen it tried in a government. Never mind the size of the U.S.
right.
I don't know how it's going to end. I mean, it might be okay. It might be. There's definitely
Nobody knows.
no one knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Axios, the FCC chair endorses Trump's ability to fire commissioners. So there's a lot of energy right now around testing the limits of the president's authority with the regulatory agencies that are in the executive branch, but especially those that were established to be independent. The FTC is one of those.
There's a difference, I think, from a legal point of view in something like the Consumer Financial Protection Board. I think I said that right.
Bureau.
Bureau, which has one leader that the president can appoint, versus the FTC that has a 5-member board that kind of manages it. Traditionally, the president would put in the chairman, the leader of the board, and name 3 of the 5 commissioners, but not the other 2. And that allowed for at least some balance. So in the minority, you couldn't swing a decision, but you had a voice. And the people that I'm listening to around this, because it's chaotic and there's so much coming out of DC every day that I have to sort of choose what I'm going to follow. But I think this is going to be, it's in the federal appellate courts right now. I think it's going to go to the Supreme Court because Trump's administration, Trump himself and his attorneys, I think, are really testing the power of the presidential office, the executive branch.
Yeah.
And it's unclear whether the Supreme Court will allow that or not. But obviously, it will create a very different regulatory environment for mergers and acquisitions, which impacts our business directly.
Yeah. Hey, I haven't had a chance to listen to the shows that you guys did while I was out because literally it was just back to back to back, no breather. Did you guys talk about Brad Smith and Doge?
We did not. No, Paul and I talked about policy in general for the different parts of the healthcare system, but we didn't touch on Brad.
Okay, well, you didn't good. Bring that.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about it right now. I mean, you didn't. We'll find a link and throw it in the show notes. I know that there are a couple that are out there, but this is a pretty big deal, isn't it? So Brad Smith ran CMMI and has built 2 companies in partnership with Senator Frist. First was Aspire Health. The second one was CareBridge. Both have sold for over $1 billion. I think maybe one was $2 billion. Both to Anthem, right?
Yep. Anthem or Elements?
Well, it's the same.
Well, yeah, I guess right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And he was tapped to be the healthcare lead inside Doge. So, it's a pretty good pick, right? If you're focused on efficiency and you want to go into healthcare, a guy who ran CMMI and then built businesses against value-based care models.
Yeah, and he still has Main Street right now.
Yeah.
That's like rural health. Yeah.
Yep. That's a pretty good profile to go in there. This is a guy with a ton of Nashville sensibility when it comes to like how healthcare works. but is not at all like limited to Nashville. I mean, he's a nationwide guy. And CMMI was, I don't think anyone's going to cry tears if CMMI gets axed. I mean, I think health system CFOs all over the country will rejoice about,
Yeah,
CMMI
but
going away.
both sides, Democrats and Republicans, used it to try to experiment with new things, and
Sure.
it had good aspirations. It maybe didn't deliver that much, but he was
Yeah.
in that seat for the whole Trump won. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there is an interesting question though, as we see these broad sweeping cuts happen and Doge moving through uh, departments where they may not have a version of Brad there, right? Having Brad in Doge leads me to believe that while the cuts may still be swift in Doge manner, that they will be thoughtful insofar as we have someone who understands how the system actually works. What do you think about that? I mean, I tell you what, like you can be afraid, but I'd much rather have him in there than not have him in there.
Yeah, that's where I was going to start. I think there's I don't know if there's a better pick. Um, he is a really good operator, but he also cares about physicians and patients and payers, and he understands the balance of our healthcare industry with the payers and providers naturally designed to hold each other accountable. He understands that in a way that not many others do, and he's delivered significant value for shareholders in at least three companies, maybe more. Um, I think there's a lot of healthcare that could be redesigned to be better for everyone. Now, it's going to be a hard process because it's a big system, and turning it, no matter who you are, I think is going to have some. There's going to be some places where there are cuts that maybe are not immediately filled, and people's life is at stake and their health is at stake. And so it's a hard job, but I agree. I think he's a great choice for it. There's a lot of
Yeah,
fear around cutting anything, but I
sure.
think he definitely knows what to do, and he has the right perspective. He's going to try to save money, but he's not going to do it at the expense of care broadly, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, and I also think it's pretty interesting that Doge even brought in somebody of his caliber to do the healthcare thing, because you have to ask, across all these other areas, did they feel it necessary to bring in that kind of expert?
Yeah, it's really interesting. They they have a pretty large number of people that are there voluntarily just to because they're Americans. Now, whether we like exactly what they do, they're trying to do something that they think is right. And at the end of the day, that's on balance probably good.
Well, look, I mean, I guess a couple things. One, I have I've never felt so vindicated in my assertion that um while what you do is important, how you do it is also important, as I do right now.
Mhm.
Hopefully people are like getting that. The how actually does matter.
Yeah.
Um and I think that the the problem that the Democrats have created is that they simply would not have conversations about the deficit.
Right.
That, like, real conversations addressing the concern of the deficit, right? Um, and you give uh you give Doge and you give Elon kind of room to run in whatever way they want from a how perspective, because at least they are addressing that issue. You know what I mean? And to me, this is like, this is such a consistent theme with the Democrats, which is why I think the Democratic Party is like in such terrible, tremendous trouble, even watching like how they're responding in this moment.
Yeah.
You know, I think this party is in such tremendous trouble because when you look at the first, you know, what is it, February 20th? The month.
A
So
month.
when
Yes,
you
month.
look at the first month of the Trump presidency, right? I mean, the level of intensity that this has come with and whiplash, not just domestically, but obviously internationally, right?
Yeah.
It's this is so incredibly intense. And it simply begs the question, does everyone like this level of intensity? Right? Is this what everyone wanted? This level of intense whiplash? Or did they just want somebody to address some core issues that standing leadership was unwilling to acknowledge needed to be addressed?
Yeah.
And I think I just think it's the latter. I just think it's the latter. I think like
Yeah. And there's just a vacuum of credible democratic voices, and our system works better with both sides contributing. And
yes.
I I sent there's a op-ed, you were gone. It was on February 13th. Ro Khanna, hopefully I'm saying that right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's
That's his name.
he's the Democratic. He's in the House
Mhm.
in Silicon Valley.
Yep.
And he wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, and I sent it to my sons because I said, finally, a strong Democratic response, and it was great. I mean, he's basically saying what you're saying, like, we need to be honest that there's people in middle America that are suffering, and the Democratic Party needs to recognize that and then try to help them, as opposed to just pretend like everyone's fine when they're not fine.
Yeah.
And so you lose credibility. So, um, but he's one congressman, and there needs to be some more leadership on the Democratic Party. Hopefully, there will, like a governor, or I mean, maybe he can do it, but it's just I don't know. I think that
It there's gonna have to be sort of a takedown of the establishment because the establishment is not gonna change their tune.
yeah, and I mean,
It's
I
gonna have
think Elon is a lot of things, but he is very prepared, and he's working
yes.
24 hours a day, and he is using, I think, Ronald Reagan's playbook. Where, I mean, remember that there was like a $8,000 toilet in the Pentagon that they pointed to, and it got to be like a meme before memes were out because it was the 80s. But that's what Doge is doing. He's attacking things that are clearly waste, fraud, and abuse. And in middle America, people don't want millions of dollars going to something when they are struggling themselves. That's just the warm up. I mean, what he's doing is sort of like gaining credibility and making the talk track be, there's all these problems, and then people will stop listening, and then he make like a bunch of cuts. And instead of the Democrats complaining about Elon wasn't elected or whatever, they need to be more, I don't know, assertive and studied, and try to say, yes, these are wasteful things. Let's cut that. But these aspects, these programs we really need. You
Yeah.
can't say everything is bad.
Yeah. And then like, and then saying things like he's not very smart. I mean,
It's just not true.
it's just like it's
And you
uh,
say, we didn't talk about it in when we were catching up about Saudi Arabia. But one of the things you said really resonated with me, which is people are working 18 hours a day there. Like they're trying to make their life. They're working
yeah.
incredibly hard,
Yeah.
and there's a feeling that's more urgent than in the U.S. Maybe not everywhere, but broadly. And that's kind of what Elon and Brad and these are people that, I mean, Brad is the same and Elon's the same. They'll work 24/7. I mean, Brad is really talented and he works all day, all night. He works on weekends. He's just working all the time.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, I feel like there is something that American business people who do business in places like Saudi Arabia and China, right, understand about the competitive nature of the world right now and like what's at stake. And again, nothing I'm saying is justifying what they're doing. I again, to me, how you do things really, really matters. And I think that there is a lot of cruelty and a lot of distress and a lack of decorum that I see that is, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. I just wasn't raised that way. So whatever. I wasn't raised that way.
You can do the same changes in a more respectful way, I think.
Yeah, like a statesman.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, listen. Uh but the work ethic and the focus and the bar and the commitment to excellence, like these are things that in many many aspects of American culture are lacking compared to other countries. And like we are there is a bit of a like la la land that we
Yeah, we're
have here
soft.
because
We're soft.
we don't understand the things that underpin our standard of life that give us this that we don't think the country can go broke. We don't think we can lose the dollar as the world currency. Like we don't think these things can go away. They can go away.
Yeah.
And people are working every day
To
around
make
the
them go
clock
away.
to
Make them go
make
away.
them go away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you were in Saudi working, I went to Colombia just for fun. And it's not the same as Saudi Arabia, right? Because they're not a center, but it is outside the US bubble. Like, it's not really under US protection. It's not like going to US Virgin Islands or something. Um, and people are hungry and like really hustling because there's no safety net. Like, and the difference between middle class and really poverty is not that far. Like one misstep and all of a sudden it's gone. And that like it's just on the frontier, right? It's outside of the bubble here. And it's fun as an American because they don't use coins there. And I said to the hotel, like, why are there no coins? Like, well, 2000, whatever their bills are, is 50 cents. And so, like, there's no real
Yeah.
need for coins.
Right.
But it's just, they have to hustle. There's no safety and there's no security. And that's also bad, but it drives this like hunger or work ethic they're working hard to survive. And
Yeah.
yes, the US dollar reserve currency gives us just incredible power, and our military power gives us incredible power. But both are maybe peaked in 1998.
Yeah, I mean, certainly peaked in terms of like clear dominance
Yeah,
relative to the rest of the
we were
world,
the
right?
only global power in the late 90s, and now we still have a lot of power, but there's other. I mean, Saudi Arabia is rising, China is rising, Russia. Who knows what Russia's doing? This is all kinds of craziness.
All kinds of shifting. All right, let's move to industry stories. Humana's CenterWell unit plans further expansion in 2025. Humana's CenterWell seems to be doing pretty well, picking
Yeah,
up, where Walmart left off, and now looking at further expansion. It seems like a good focused model. It kind of fulfills their provider agenda, and it's focused on a particular demographic, so they should be able to do very well with that.
yeah, they are moving. The payvider business model we cover normally from the provider side. Now underwriting insurance. Humana's going the other way, and they really focus on Medicare Advantage primarily. So I think it makes a lot of sense. They are getting much more engaged with their subscribers, their members, their patients in CenterWell, and that keeps them longer on the Medicare Advantage Humana plans, and they're able to manage them better. I think it makes a lot of sense.
UnitedHealth Group offers buyouts to eligible employees, according to reports.
Yeah, and I think it's 30,000 employees could take this buyout and not work there anymore. And I think that's an example where they are trying to be proactive. Like United makes plenty of money, but they're trying to be efficient and really and prepare for the whatever's coming next. And I think that's probably smart.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think that the offer to the buyout, right? That's being proactive, right? That's not the same as a layoff.
Yeah.
They are very data driven. They normally never miss their quarterly earnings reports,
Right.
and so I think they are looking down the pipe and saying, hey, we might need to make this move now to secure future profits, given macro trends and other things that are going on. So
Yeah.
CommonSpirit logs 135 million of Q2 operating gain on higher volumes, checked labor spend. I think about one of our first episodes, it had to be in the first like 15, where we went through that CommonSpirit financial report, like line by line, when they were like burning all sorts of massive cash. Yeah. So this is like a happy story that
they have
really
really turned
around.
the ship in the last 2 years in a great fashion, and it's a big platform.
Big ship.
I don't know how many states, but a lot of states, and so it's great to see. I mean, Paul and I were talking about this last week. The scaled nonprofit health systems, CommonSpirit, Ascension, Kaiser, they're doing pretty well. I mean, it's more scale, I think, and strong execution, really strong management teams than it is whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit. Probably.
Yeah, I agree. Wright Lassiter went from Henry Ford to be the CEO's CommonSpirit, and he's kicking ass. Congrats to him. Mass General Brigham opens fiscal year 25 with $54 million operating loss. Expects layoffs to save over $200 million annually. So this was a little bit out of the blue. Learning that Mass General Brigham is having some financial problems.
Yeah, I was really surprised about this. I think that academic medical centers in general are going to be under pressure from the NIH. So I don't know. One of the things we covered is NIH is claiming they're going to cap the overhead payments at 15% to all grants.
Yep.
That's going to be really difficult.
That's really difficult.
Platforms like MGH and I guess and Mass General Brigham's.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen yet. So they are already sort of struggling and trying to cut back.
Yeah. So hopefully they get this turned around. Let's see what do we got next. Oh, another not so great story. CHS's losses widen in 2024. They widened to 516 million in 2024, up from 133 million in 2023. I mean, goodness gracious, this is like, and I mean, I think the really sad thing about this is Vic, CHS has been struggling for how long now?
I mean, I've been in Nashville 25 years. I think 25.
No. It hasn't been that long.
They have been struggling for 10 years at least.
10 years. At
least.
10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
And they've sold off a lot of their really profitable assets to pay down debt. They have a lot of debt. They took on a ton of debt to do
all the buying in the beginning.
Yeah. And now they're having to like sell. The only assets they can sell are the ones that are performing. And so it's just this like, really difficult spiral where you have to sell something to pay off a debt that's come due, and you can't sell the facilities that are really burning money, and so you sell one of the 10 hospitals that are doing well, or whatever the number is. Some number are doing okay, but then you only have 9 left, and then the next year you do it again. So I don't know where it goes, but nowhere good.
Yeah, that's ugly. It's ugly
Yeah,
for
there's a
sure.
lot of people. I mean, we have friends there. There's a lot of people that are good. They're good people, but the system is just over leveraged, and the assets they have are not. They're not designed in a way that can really have any leverage negotiating with payers or have any.
I'm not even sure how many people that are there in leadership today were responsible for the buying that created the current situation.
Yeah, most of those people have left, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's not the same C-suite, I don't think.
No, no.
So yeah, I mean they're just trying to navigate a just
Yeah,
very, very tough situation.
yeah.
NYU Langone hospital nurses give strike notice.
We've seen this pop up in different parts of the country. Nurses and unions know they have bargaining power, and so I think it's going to keep happening. They're going to have to figure out some way to settle with them. I think we've discussed they can. Hospitals seem to be able to hold on for a week to 2 weeks, bringing in outside staff and things, but then so they're 10 days from today, they're going to go on strike if they don't get to some settlement. They're still negotiating, but right in New York.
At Vive, which was here in Nashville, but I was too sick to go to, we had a look under the hood at Risant Health's value-based platform.
Yeah, I went to Vive. Vive was great. Nice to have a home game where I could sleep in my bed and then go see all these people from around the country.
Exactly, exactly.
And it was good. A lot of stuff that we cover every week here. So not that many new things, but this was new. So Risant, of course, is Kaiser's brand that they used when they bought Geisinger, and then they added Cone. And it's really interesting. They are not integrating all the operations into one massive platform. Instead, they're sort of overlaying. We're going to work together on value-based care initiatives, and that's how they're sort of working with the groups that they buy. Pretty interesting way to sort of align interests and kind of let each operation kind of opt in to whatever they need for their population at that time.
Yep, yep. I'm super excited about this. I think it's very, very smart. I'm excited to see the team that they build, and yeah, look, Rising's just an exciting story. A really exciting story to see a different type of national. We were just talking about the success of CommonSpirit, which is great, but also like a very sort of still fee for service based model. A lot of the large scaled nonprofits. I think CommonSpirit, Ascension, Advocate used to be Atrium. They're largely fee for service platforms, right?
Yeah.
So this Risant
And the
plays,
for-profits are all that way. So all the scaled ones except for Risant.
yeah, yeah. So definitely rooting for them and excited to see how they continue to evolve and roll this out.
Yeah. And if you're
Also,
going to cobble together sort of a 8 or 9 kind of regional players into a nationwide platform, you need something to hold it together.
yes,
And I like the idea of doing value-based care as opposed to just like imposing some standard that everyone has to do it X way. Probably.
yeah, agree. Vive 2025 Multiplan unveils rebrand as it shifts focus to data assets, tech for providers, payers, and employers. Multiplan's always been sort of a complicated thing for me to understand.
Yeah, I think of them as like almost a TPA, a network of docs, and then they've added in other things to optimize the network for employers and consumers. Multiplan might be the worst name ever. The new name is not that much better. Clarative. It's going to be hard to spell it of the URL and everything, but I guess good.
Shouldn't talk about home team companies like that. All right. Lumeris unveils AI tech for primary care, DoseSpot's latest RX transparency tool.
Yeah, so Lumeris has an AI, I'd call it an agent that they've named Tom, which is kind of bizarre, but Tom helps the primary care doc with, helping with their patients, taking away a lot of the time-consuming tasks that everyone is trying to take away. Interesting. I don't know how effective it is, but they're saying there's 2 billion hours that we don't have enough providers to fill, and they want Tom to help with that.
Okay.
So
All right, into our AI rundown. Let's try to move this quickly. Corti AI adds up-to-date integration to its platform.
yeah, so Walters Clore, I'm
Mhm.
not saying that right. They're a very well-known healthcare
Old.
data, evidence-based, old, been around forever. Um, Integrating that data set into AI, I think, is really meaningful. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
good.
really strong data set. It will mean that the AI is much better, and will hallucinate less and could maybe really be helpful.
Okay, so Corti AI is one we need to track really because of the Walters Kluwer
Yeah,
partnership.
and I
Okay.
assume that they paid a bunch for it. I mean, it's really valuable data, so I think they probably some license deal.
Yeah, license or maybe a bunch of warrants on the company or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, right.
Zuckerberg bets big that real humans want humanoid robots. Meta's latest AI push. It's just interesting how bad so far Zuckerberg has been at hardware. He's been really bad at it. I mean, the phone was trash, the portal was trash. Oculus is okay, but I don't know anyone who like actually uses it on a regular basis.
And
The the
he's not actually building robots. He's building tools, AI software and sensors to empower other
Got it.
robots.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
So he
That makes
maybe
sense.
is self-aware, or more likely he just knows that it's 30 years of investment that other firms have done in robotics that's really hard to catch up on. So
Is this basically a way for him to like take all his investments in the AR VR labs and turn it into a B2B
yes,
enterprise? Okay.
exactly what it is. I mean,
Okay.
he built all of the sensors. He has various touch things,
Yep.
interactions for the Oculus and for other stuff, and now he's able to use that, but sell it to I can't remember the robotics company's name, but there's only like 10 that are pretty well known. Boston
He
something is one of them.
yeah, he had way too much in on R&D
Right,
at Horizon Labs to not like find a repurpose for that
right,
that
right.
exhaust. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's 5 billion. He
Yeah.
spent 5 billion on his virtual reality glasses stuff, and it's not going to work.
No, it's not
Or
gonna
maybe
work.
it'll work slightly, but it's not going to repay that much money. So I
No.
think it's a smart way to really kind of reposition into something that at least will have 3 to 5 years of hope for the stock. Maybe it'll pan out.
Yeah. Wall Street Journal, AI agents are everywhere and nowhere. I love that headline because I agree with it. We're hearing about agentic, and it's like, okay, but who's using agentic?
Right.
In this article, they have a picture of Brett Taylor, who is the former co-CEO at Salesforce and former CTO at Facebook, who's launched a company called Sierra that is fully focused on consumer support agents. But yeah, what's your read on this story?
Yeah, I think it. I mean, you framed it up pretty well. They had a bunch of CIOs at a conference in Menlo Park talking about AI, and this every 60% are testing something, but no one is really using it in any broad capacity.
Hmm.
And just because you call it an agent doesn't make it any different than the AI that we had 6 months ago. It's not. It hasn't been integrated into like the workflows and how business operates yet. Maybe it will soon. I've been playing with a lot of these agents, and they're okay. They're maybe marginally better, but it doesn't really. You can't just plug it in and let it answer calls from customers today. Now
Yeah.
that might be a first place where you could have that. First level support, for instance, could be a place to look. But so far, we haven't got wide adoption. But it is so much buzz that's the title. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching a online video. I think it was on YouTube, and it was this guy. I think his name's Logan Kilpatrick. He was interviewing Moth, and it was actually a really good interview. But you're way more dialed into all in these days than I am. I still got to get over my like Saks
He's not
thing.
on it anymore. So you
I
should,
know it doesn't matter. I still am I'm just allergic to that guy. But anyway, the interview with Chamath, it was really good, and I learned about the 80/90. Um, I learned about the 80/90 company that he's doing, but I loved what he was saying. He was just talking about how, okay, we have all this AI stuff, the models, whatever. It's ultimately going to go to open source. Agree with that. Um, he was pretty pro Gemini, which I am too, just
yeah.
more for utility because it's tied into all my data,
Yeah.
in
Well,
our Google
because we're
Drives and
on
stuff.
Gmail and Google
Yeah,
Docs, makes it easy. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like I get more utility out of it because it's literally where all my data is. Okay, so there's that. Um, but then he was like, to actually make this stuff useful for business is going to be a freaking grind, and it's so he's dedicated a company to that, and I'm like, that's the reality of this stuff. It's like, I was reading a post from this guy Ravi Gupta that Nick Holland sent me, and the guy, he works in Sequoia. He used to be the COO, CFO at Instacart, and he was like, all these companies are going to be refounded, and this is right. Like it's true for one person startups using Cursor. Like we're going to have a whole new swath of companies. That there's no question about that. We run a pretty small firm, so but one of the things he said was take a week off and try to like reinvent at least one aspect of your business in AI. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually really smart. That's something you and I can
Yeah.
do. And we can't do it this quarter, but we can look to like the end of the second quarter. We could say, okay, like let's take off a week. Let's pick one part of our business and just like hack at it for a week and try to figure it out. But like take a week off
Right.
to try to do one part of your business. Like that's the requirement to actually get this stuff to transform your business. It doesn't do it because you pay for a SaaS license to hopscotch AI. You know what I mean? Like
That's what I mean. The interfaces are not good enough. Like you really have to clearly document exactly what are all the steps that you do. And I do steps all day to send an email or whatever. And when you write them down, and I've done this, that you might get to like 70 steps, and it takes 4 hours to document it all. And then you have to start like having an AI agent do those steps, and it doesn't do it that well. Um, and I haven't found easy places just to plug in any of these agents where they just work out of the box. They
no,
don't.
no, they don't. And like most people in today's world don't have the time. So the ones that are going to eat the lunch are the ones who have the time.
Yeah.
If you've got the time, the luxury of time to sit there and just hack at this thing, you're gonna win. But for all the people who have a going concern that they have to manage and keep going and like hit numbers on a regular basis and like serve customers and support
Yeah.
customers and all that kind of stuff, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I mean, and a lot of the time is wasted. I mean, I learn, but I've probably wasted um I don't know, 20 Saturday mornings. We're like all Saturday morning, like 8 a.m. to noon, trying to get something to work, and it just doesn't damn work. I learn a bunch of things that don't work, and that is pretty frustrating. If you're not willing, if you don't just like the learning process, it's hard. So anyway, I think that's
I
where
feel I feel really bad for you.
that's just part of the way I don't learn unless I'm tinkering and trying to do something anyway. If I just watch a video, I don't learn anything. So
All
you're
right, Microsoft.
a developer, so you would have done it much faster. But
Yeah, it is true. If you've been a developer, even if you haven't coded like me for like 15 years, it's like still like you still
yeah,
know the stuff, you know?
it's all
Okay,
like
Microsoft.
the little things that trip you up that take 3 hours, and then I'm just throwing my
It's
hand done.
it's context.
Yeah,
It's context that you have because you have coded, that if
yeah,
you have not coded, you don't have. Like you're just missing the information.
right.
You know,
Yes, I don't know what information I'm missing even, which is the
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, like I was telling you when we were talking about building an application in Replit,
Yeah,
like one of the things I told the AI was like, go read the error log and find this. You know how many people don't know that like a regular part of programming is to read the error log?
Yeah, I don't know that.
Yeah, it's just context for like what what is the act of programming? Like what are the different
Yeah,
components of the work that you do? So anyway, uh, let's let's keep going because we're almost
that's a
done.
6-month course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Microsoft claims quantum computing breakthrough by creating new slate of matter.
Google had a quantum computing chip maybe 2 months ago, and now
Yeah.
Microsoft has one. I mean, it's coming, and
Yeah.
so neither is. I mean, Microsoft won't sell this yet. They're sort of just experiments. It's a science research project, but I want to keep following it because quantum computing is going to really change security and how we keep track of bank records and health records and everything. And so, and then
Oh,
make everything
can we
fast.
at least get through 2 years of Trump before we get quantum computing?
I think you have probably 5 years, 8 years.
I I don't think we can handle the two overlaid with each other. I mean that's a level of chaos in our lives that just
Yes.
I ain't
I,
ready.
yeah.
I ain't ready for it. Okay, exploring the structural changes driving protein function with BioEmu-1. So this is another Microsoft story, and I guess they are. I mean, back-to-back stories about how they are meeting Google, sort of,
Yeah.
tit for tat. This sounds like deep.
Yeah, it is. It's very similar to DeepMind. And I choose to see it as healthy that we have
Oh
two,
yeah,
there are two American companies that are both pushing on all of these really pretty deep science things like quantum computers and protein folding, and it's great. And then they open it up and allow everyone to play with them. So for medical research and new drug discovery, this is much more important than quantum computing. We already had AlphaFold, but it's great to have another view of it.
I'm reading this, and it says they've enabled this by training BioEmu-1 on AlphaFold. So this is like what happens when people are open sourcing things. It's like you get, I mean, it's competition, but like not if you open source the training data,
Yeah,
right?
but well,
That's collaboration. That's
it's why,
collaboration.
yeah, and it's why technology accelerates, right? Because the next thing allows a bunch of groups to then move faster, and I think it's there's no question it's a net positive. There's a lot of things changing really quickly, but it's good.
Yep. Elon's XAI has released Grok 3. So, and they've also rolled out the Grok app.
Yeah, so Elon built this huge data center in Memphis. I think it might be the biggest in the world, or one of the biggest in the world. 200,000 GPUs from NVIDIA. And it's been training for the last 8 months or something. And now Grok 3 is ready. I think it's competitive with OpenAI and DeepSeek and Gemini. Kind of like you were talking about listening to the 8090 stuff. My view is that they're all really good. And I'm more interested in sort of the downstream, as they produce these new models, then they open source and just give away the last, like Musk is giving away Grok 2 now. And that's great for entrepreneurs and doctors and patients, anyone that wants to sort of get intelligence basically free.
Yep. Yep. Agree with that. OpenAI co-founder Zuckerberg is launching a startup and is fundraising at a $30 billion plus valuation.
Yeah, just hard for me to get my head around. And he is working to go to like super intelligence and doesn't care about any of these interim steps, which is interesting. And I mean, the reason to put the story is it's interesting. He's well known. There'll be another competitor with the four I just named. And the other piece to the story is OpenAI, is losing talent. We have the next story as well. I don't know what happened there, but Mira Murati,
Murati.
yeah, Murati, is starting Thinking Machines Lab, which is another frontier model, but much more focused at trying to incorporate humans side by side with the AI systems, like focus on the interaction between humans and AI. I'm not sure what that means exactly, um, but there's definitely this. I don't know. There's a bifurcation of the talent. And we now have, gosh, I don't know, 5 to 10 different companies all raising huge amounts of money, and there aren't that many world-class data scientists. So it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, it's going to be interesting.
I say let them go at it. I mean,
Yeah, it's better for us. I mean, unless you're invested in one of these, which we're not, I want them all to build great stuff.
yeah, I mean, look, I think that it's less at the scale that it's happening. It's less about, okay, let them all do it so we can take it. It's more about they're all trying to bring about the next step change in society. You know, capitalists are trying to flip society into an AI society. You know, that's that. What else can you say is happening here by the
I
amount
mean,
of capital and
I
the
think it is.
valuations?
I think it's Edison and Tesla fighting over how we're going to deliver electricity to the world.
Yes,
And,
yes,
one
yes.
at DC, one at AC, whatever it was. And there becomes a standard. And then Edison won and made a ton of money, and Tesla didn't. And he was really smart, but he wasn't Edison. And there's this first mover advantage. Whoever gets to artificial general intelligence first then has the tool that can learn infinitely faster than anyone else, and you win. That's the only reason you would invest in these models, because you get that step change, and then you have the next electricity for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
Um,
And and look, the reality is, if society was not set up the way that it is, with nations and militaries and global competition and battles over land and all these other things that are all going on all over the world right now, if the world wasn't set up that way, you might say, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. But I'm sorry, the world is set up that way. And so we are all going to run towards this, you know, with basically it's reckless abandon, because we don't know what's on the other side. That's the truth. Nobody does.
oh,
Sutzkever doesn't know what's on the other side. Altman doesn't know what's on the other side. Musk doesn't know what's on the other side. None of them know, but we're all running there because we got to get there before the other person, right?
yeah. Well,
So,
certainly, DeepSeek coming out of China. If you weren't an accelerist before that, we're just like, it's just all accelerator. Let's go. We'll figure out whatever bumps we hit. You are now, because China is right on our heels, and we definitely don't want them to have it and not us not have it. So
right, right.
that's why I think the competition between all the Mag 7 is good, and Grok coming in and these startups, they're going to get funded, and they're all Americans.
Yeah. Well, it's good to be back.
Yes, welcome back. I loved having some guest hosts, but it's much better with the main host. So welcome back.
Thanks, man. I don't have any Thursday trips planned for a long time, so I imagine I will be here, and we've got some good guests that are lining up. We're starting to get some inbound good guests, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And great job on the interview.
We just dropped the Seema Verma.
I was about to congratulate you on that. Great job on that.
Yeah, I'm excited about their new product. It's just now coming out, but I think it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I agree. It sounded pretty compelling.
And we have Stu Clark from Premise. Premise is a machine, and
oh yeah,
know about it. So that's going to be good. I think that'll be next week. We recorded it last week. It's a really good, and he's got incredible results. So
Premise is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, man. I'll talk to you next week.
All right. We'll feel better. Bye.
Bye.